Hello, my girlie. Welcome to Talks with Say, the only late-night, thought-provoking, giggle-inducing podcast for our ladies whose days melt into their nights. I'm Zahra, your tulip-loving, heels-obsessed host.
And I'm Presh, your book-enthusiastic, bucket list-chasing co-host this month. And just like you, we're trying to figure it all out while finding moments of balance, discipline, and self above else.
If you haven't already, please be sure to follow or subscribe to Talks with Say, wherever you listen to your podcast.
And turn on your notifications so you never miss an episode.
So tonight, girlie, we're going to be talking about all things millennials and Gen Z. Before we start, I am so excited to be able to say that this month we do have a special co-host, Presh, and I'm going to give her the floor, let her introduce herself a little bit to you. Presh, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on here today. Well, my name is Presh. Like Zahra mentioned, I'm a Tanzanian South Sudanese girlie who's an avid reader and a true bookworm, but when I'm not reading, you can catch me traveling. Some recent travels that I absolutely loved was Zanzibar, Tanzania, France, and I'm just really excited for our episode today.
I am too. I know girlies are probably wondering, like, how did this come about? Who was Presh? Of course, this entire month over on Instagram at Talks with Say, or we're going to be spending some time with her on Mondays or Tuesdays, depending on the days. So, as you girlies know, I really wanted this first season of the podcast to be a trial and error, to really test out what things work, what things don't work, and to see how you respond to it. And a lot of us that have listened to podcasts or do listen to podcasts, it's usually a duo podcast or it's a group podcast. Very rarely do you actually get a solo podcast. And so I thought, why not do a co-host for a month? And the first person I thought of was Presh. So I asked her, and to my surprise, in the best way, of course, she said yes. And that's how this co-host duo came about. And that leads me to transitioning into our topic today, which is all things Gen Z and millennials. First, we are going to talk about what we know about both Gen Z and millennials. I guess I'll start, Presh. I myself am a millennial. How about you?
I am a Gen Z.
So what have you heard, Presh, about Gen Z and millennials? Because I know we've both heard so many things, both good, bad, in between, complaints, etc. So what have you heard?
How Gen Z's better with technology, because you hear about in like the workforce, millennials who are in like higher positions don't know how to like use Excel, and the Gen Z person coming in would be like teaching them. Or even on social media, like Gen Z are usually being hired more for these like TikTok, Instagram post positions, while millennials can't even like make a TikTok.
Wait, I feel attacked.
You know, like little like trend. Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing is like just the tech savvy difference.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That's something that I've noticed has been said a lot. And like you said, like more Gen Z are being hired for like social media marketing positions, and just being technological savvy. But something that I also have heard a lot is like Gen Z has no attention span.
Yes.
Which is really interesting because being on social media now, I'm naturally not a social media person. Like I've talked to so many Gen Z people, and when I tell them I don't have a personal social media, or like before Talks would say when I didn't have social media, I'd be like, no, I don't have an Instagram, I don't have a TikTok. I would be looked at like I was crazy.
You know, like immediately it's like, oh, what's your TikTok? For me, I'm used to, oh, what's your number, or what's your next thing? You know, so it's so interesting, like the different ways of communication. So definitely the tech savvy, like you mentioned, Presh.
Yeah, I also think, like, I'm trying to think when's the first time I even got an Instagram, which was quite young. So I've been on Instagram for a long time. TikTok, not so much. But even on TikTok, the videos are like 30 seconds, and then you slide, and then you slide, and then you slide. Like,
how does anybody gather like proper information in 10 seconds. Like, how do you? My mind could never. And I think it's really interesting because Presh, you mentioned being an avid reader, and so for you being Gen Z, like, how do you like? How are you able to, I guess, be a Gen Z, but also be an avid reader? Like, are you a faster reader because of your attention span, or has your attention span been affected?
It's actually been harder. Well, one, because I was a student, or I am a student, but second, because I've been on TikTok the last 4-ish years, it's hard for me to really just sit there and read and not think about what am I going to eat today? Like, what's the weather like? Am I cold? Am I hot? Like, random thoughts will show up in my brain when I'm just trying to read anything. So it's been just progressively harder to just sit down and read and shut down my brain.
Do you think it's because of like social media and the attention span, the shortened attention span? Or is it like because for me, I'm an avid reader. I used to be an avid reader, not anymore, unfortunately. And for me, like, if I pick up a book and I get into like 2 sentences I really love, nothing in this world can stop me from like finishing that book. Like, I will be walking, reading. But then at the same time, there are some times where I do read a book or I'm watching a movie and my mind wanders as well. Like, oh, what am I going to eat? What is my outfit going to be for tomorrow? Like,
exactly.
That's like an attention span. Or it's just like, just something, because it's not I don't think that specific part is a Gen Z thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just happened
With you too?
With me too, but also with, I don't know all the names of the generations, but like the generation right before millennials, I believe.
Like the baby boomers?
It might be.
Like that, yeah, I think it's like baby boomer or boomer or something like that.
Something like that. But it happens with them as well. So I'm really curious if it's like.
Or maybe like as we get older, like for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it just was much easier when I was younger to just sit there for hours, not even be, like you said, the first reading 2 sentences and being hooked and reading it till the end, like not wanting to put the book down. That's how I was when I was younger, with less distractions. So I think it's also just as I'm getting older, and then the attention span on top of that, and then being so busy, it's like even finding time to read.
Yeah, where it's like finding time in itself is hard. So it's like when you don't have time and you have a million things to do, which a lot of the girlies listening are in the same boat. It's like, how do you even have an attention span? So is it really a Gen Z thing? Or is it just like easier to blame Gen Z and be like, yeah, you guys will have the highest attention span?
That's true.
But I want to talk about the differences and commonalities that we have. I think one of the biggest like differences I've noticed in our with both of our generation is like my generation will talk on the phone. Like, we want to talk on the phone. We want phone calls, you know. We like, that's what we want. And that's what I prefer. Like, I will call you. I'm not even gonna text you like, hey, I'm gonna call you. I'm just gonna call, you know. Whereas like your generation,
yeah,
text me first, you know. And it's like,
I will watch the phone ring. Like, if it has to be an emergency, you have to be my top. Like, we talk every day, but don't randomly call me. Like, I'm watching. Like, that is not something we do. No, I don't know. And I'm trying to. There's a lot of like drawbacks to not calling, especially if you're having like a serious conversation. My coworker, who's much older than me, would call and be like, "Hi, Presh, how are you?" and then ask whatever she's calling about. But me, when I'm calling someone, I'm like, "Hi," get straight to the point. That's something I've really noticed. Like, there's more formality. There's more
small talk.
Yes. And my generation's like, "Hey, like, I'm outside, I'm on the way." But it's like, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah.
And then they ask the question.
I really like that about Gen Z. Like you, and it's so interesting because like, although I'm a millennial, I feel like when it comes to that specific about like getting to the point, I'm that person. Like you know, before our episode today, I called you and I got straight to the point.
Yeah, I prefer that. But then you were like, "How are you?" Yes.
Because that's what I think. It's also because of like coming right after, I believe, the baby boomers, where they're the generation where it's like small talk and really building like
connection. Yes.
Yeah, because with millennials, like we didn't grow up with social media the entire time.
Do you know what a GIF is?
What?
Do you know what a GIF is?
Okay, this I don't even want to start because for the longest I was saying GIF and people were looking at me like I was
Whoa.
crazy, and they're like, "Oh, what?" And I'm like, like the videos that are funny, and they're like,
That is
Yeah,
very
like, they're
millennial of you.
like-
Yeah. I did want
I
to
saw
ask
that.
though, before I forget, were you ever on like Vine and stuff? What?
When I tell you, the only social media I've ever had was a Tumblr.
and
You were a Tumblr. Yeah,
on
you were on
MySpace.
Tumblr.
Like, I was that Tumblr girly that like would edit. Like, I knew coding before coding was a thing because of Tumblr. The millennial girls, like,
Yeah, the girls who know now.
that was our TikTok. Yeah, so that's going back to the differences. I think also the fact that like I think more of my generation, more millennials are picking it up, but a lot more Gen Z is doing this, and that's living their life. Like, one thing I admire so much, and you guys are definitely working towards your goals, but you're also being present, and you're also like, you know what? I actually have one life to live. I'm gonna live it. Like, I'm actually gonna live it. Yeah, I really, really like that. So I think that's a difference I've seen with Gen Z and millennials.
Say, and
Yeah.
also being more comfortable just being different and like going outside the box. I feel like
Yeah.
millennials are more used to like the typical like structure, like, oh, this is how I was raised, this is how everyone else does it, like this is what I'm gonna do. But Gen Z are like, no, like I'm gonna do this, or I'll move to Italy, or I'll shave off my hair and dye my eyebrows blonde. Like, they'll just do anything that they
Yeah.
just like want to.
Girlies, I love how Precious saying they when she's a Gen
Yeah,
Z.
me, we. I proudly am Gen Z. We.
Yeah, I really admire that as well.
I think also a part of that is because, like, again, with how do I say this? Like, with I feel like millennials, we're kind of like in the middle of like, okay, we're gonna just like be unapologetic, and it's normal to be unapologetic compared to we have to follow the structure that's always been taught to us. You know what I mean? Because like Gen Z is like, we're gonna be unapologetic and we're gonna change things. Like, period. There's no pause. There's no like period, exclamation mark. That's it. We're done. You know. Next page.
Literally. Next.
As like boomers, it's like you have to follow that structure, and I think a lot of it does have to do with like social media allowing so many more people to be united. It's like so much easier to do something, be it good or bad, when you have people behind you. But when you're like standing alone, I think it's much harder. So I think seeing the unison and just how much Gen Z comes together, especially on social media, is for me like a difference between my generation that I admire a lot, and also the way you guys transition that uniform, like that unison, and that what's the word, like when you come together as one, like
Let me think.
ooh,
Not unison.
not unison, like
Unity? Or does that not fit? Unity?
Yeah, like the
the unity Gen Z has on social media, and the fact that you guys transition it into real life is so incredible. And I think it's allowed for like millennials at work, in real life, etc., to actually feel comfortable to be like, you know what, wait, let me actually think about my own life and my own choices and things like that. Because I recently read about how like more and more millennials are actually thinking like, wait, hold on, I've been following the rules for so long. Does it actually is it actually like a reflection of what I want out of life? Like, there's more thought about that. And I think I think Gen Z definitely plays a part in that. So
I wanted to add for like the the unity part, I find that like when I do go to events, like school events, social events, there will be like mutuals that I follow on social media, and like people will go up to me, or I'll go up to them like, oh, I think I follow you on social media. There sparks a conversation, and then we have this like small community. But with millennials who aren't really on social media, you really have to like build that in person, like who you are in your close vicinity. Yeah, and that's much harder. That's much harder, like much more difficult.
Would you say though that it's harder for millennials or Gen Z to build like actual true relationships, be it friendships or romantic relationships, or just like building true connections with people? Because, you know, while social media has allowed for unity, I think it's also allowed for a lot of like vapidness
and surface level friendships.
Yeah, surface level friendships, all for the sake of maybe likes or
having more friends.
Feeling that
having more friends, feeling as if your life is perfect, things like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's harder for us Gen Z to build more authentic, like deeper connections. I don't think it's harder to just build like a surface level friendship. It's easy. But if you want like a true, genuine, deeper connection with someone, it is much harder. Like we're not that good at even having a conversation with someone, like a stranger. That is really difficult. I experienced that the other day with someone. And then for millennials, because they're used to having to like even find their partner in real life, find friends like at work, wherever they go, like they're able to keep in touch with people. Like we suck at keeping in touch with people. Me and my friends talk about that. Like, so if it's like a deeper, genuine friendship, it's harder for Gen Z, in my opinion.
I think for me, I think one of the reasons for that is because like when you are on social or when you're texting, you get to edit what you're saying, you know? But then like in person, a lot of people don't think before they talk. So in person, it's like, ooh, okay, you know, and then it does become awkward, but I think it's okay for it to be awkward.
Yeah.
Authenticity is awkward, you know? So.
And then with in person, what you said made me think about like, you don't have that much time to think too. Like you're used to being able to like think endlessly and finding a perfect response. And then, but in person, like there's those awkward silences, like you mentioned, or, just also like feeling out the person, like their tone, the body language, like that maybe make you more nervous. Because if it's just the phone, like you're just typing away, you and yourself. It's not that hard. Okay. Since we've been talking a lot about like the differences and the similarities, did you specifically think one is better? Like, did you think Gen Z was better because of how tech savvy we are? Or millennials because of how well you guys communicate and all the good points you made about your kind?
My kind.
Your kind. Your species.
My kind. Species. It's a good question.
Just like overall moving through life, like which one do you think maybe could survive better if there's an apocalypse?
We're all dying. Yeah, no, we're all dying. I think the generation that would survive the apocalypse is probably like baby boomers, because again, millennials lived through World War II. As far as one being better, I think that both generations have their strengths and weaknesses. And I think it's also dependent on perception. I definitely think that like while being tech savvy is a strength for Gen Z, I think the weakness in that is that there's like little to no necessity. Like that you guys, there's little to no necessity that you guys see in like learning proper communication. And the problem with that is it melts over into your personal life or your career and things like that, you know, especially because in adult life and in career world, you have to work with multiple people from multiple generations. And so coming in, it's like that's how I see it. What about you?
Like, which one did I think was better?
Yeah, do you think your species or my species?
Yeah. Like you said, it's really hard to pick because I'm like Gen Z, like we are really tech savvy, but there's a lot of downfalls with that. The negative parts about being on social media, the fact that you post your life 24/7, the bots that say like weird mean comments, FOMO because someone's I don't know where and you really want to be there. But honestly, I would say Gen Z. Despite all that, I am gonna stick beside her. Stick beside Gen Z. I couldn't do... Yeah, no. I like my unapologetic crew. And I feel like we
the
could...
pros outweigh the
Yeah, for me, the pros outweigh the cons. And I feel like being Gen Z, even when I can't, like, figure something out at work or anything at all, I'm like, okay, like, let me Google, let me ChatGPT, let me go on TikTok. Like, someone has figured, like, like, the other day, my makeup was patchy, and I'm like, someone on TikTok has a reason why this is happening, and I literally figured out within a couple minutes. Like, who do you know that's a millennial that could do that?
Wait, hold on. Girlies,
Literally, I
please,
figured
just
it's
resting the limit.
girlies need to know not to mix silicone and water-based products. I just learned that. Yeah. Okay.
I was gonna say, like, I know you mentioned like going on TikTok automatically. For us millennials, we were going on YouTube automatically. Where it's
I
like,
did have
that.
I did have my YouTube era when I was young. Yeah. But on that note, I did want to ask about how you think Gen Z and millennials could work together in different environments, like say in the workforce, like you mentioned, and how that would work.
I mean, for me, I think it depends on your career. Because remember, like earlier you mentioned, you know, like Gen Z being hired for more like social media marketing positions. I think it depends because, again, something I admire. I feel like I keep saying I admire everything about Gen Z because I really do admire a lot about you guys. Is like you guys tap into your creativity, and while you know social media marketing allows you to be creative, I think that I think and I wish more millennials and just like other generations would be more open to like viewing things from Gen Z's perspective,
Right.
or like asking like, okay, wait, why do you think this, you know, instead of just like going with the standard. And there's nothing wrong with the standard, but if you can make an improvement, why not make it, you know?
Being open to like trying new methods to see if that works better.
Yeah, and also like where Gen Z begins in 1996, millennials end in 1995. There are people in that range in the 90s that are dating or are friends, very close friends, and or siblings, and those methods of communication, those methods of like working together or traveling together even is so different. Like for me, when I travel or I'm like somewhere, like if I'm at an event, I'm not gonna have my camera. I'm not taking pictures all the time. I'm not posting on social media.
That is a great point. Point. Because
it's really interesting.
I'm going on a trip soon, and someone who's organizing it is much older. I want to say she's a millennial. Yeah, she has to be millennial. She's not that much older. And when we had our orientation, one of the first things was like, do not post when you're in the country. Do not post your location unless it's your emergency contact. She's like, as soon as you land back is when I'd like everyone to post. And that really stuck with me. Yeah.
She's me.
Yes.
I've been like, since, I don't even know for how long, I'm like always telling my little cousins, do not post when you are at that
Yes.
place.
It's hard.
Like are crazy. And I know it's like I think it's also because with Gen Z, you guys like want instant gratification. There's very much like this, like, I want to prove to you that I'm actually doing all these things. I want to prove to you that I'm actually enjoying my life. Where I think with millennials, and just for me, from my experience, like I could be having the time of my life. You'll never know.
I feel like that also makes sure that you're like present in the moment and just present and in the moment and enjoying it, and not like being
Yeah.
there just for social media to show people that
Yeah.
we're there.
Exactly. And that's actually something I really can't stand about Gen Z is like the why must you like I understand wanting to share something with people and like, you know, the validators or like everybody has those moments, right? But it's like if it's a constant thing and you want to get the angle right, you want to get this right, it's like you end up taking pictures longer than you actually enjoy the moment.
Yes, that's something I've been trying to work on.
Yeah. And then the moment passes and you're just like, you can't even really remember it.
Like for example, if you were to actually go back and remember like your favorite moments in the last year or so, compared to the moments that you posted on social media, can you actually remember those moments on social media, like for each moment and like truly being present in each moment and truly enjoying the time you had with those people or wherever you were? Or was it, oh wait, we were taking pictures here and here and here and here and this is what I was wearing and
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because then
What
it
about
starts
you,
to
Jamie?
be like, I just wanted to add, because then it starts to be like you're only doing that for social media. Like you're only going to that place, buying something really expensive or whatever it is, just to be able to post it and be like, da da da, this is what I'm doing, this is what I have. But for me, when I go out to eat with my friends, we will post what we're eating, where we're eating at, who we're with, like real time, like you know what we're doing and where we're at. So that's something I've been working on, just like either waiting to post later, or just like taking the picture, like one picture, we'll look at it later. Like you don't need the angle, you don't need the lighting, like just be present and enjoy what you're doing. I want to say, but a good balance of like also documenting, because like in the future, like you do want to see what you were doing, like your friends and cute stuff, but like not every second, every angle, and like ruining your mood because you didn't get a cute angle. Like it's not that serious. Yeah, or like we'll just spend like an extensive amount of time trying to get like a cute angle. It'll literally just be our food, and it's like we're like moving our phone around like, does yours look cute? Do you want mine? Like, can I like? And we're like asking each other like, can I repost this? Or like, do you like it's just, yeah.
that is so interesting. Yeah, no, for me, if I have this rule for the most part, like if we're going out, I'm like, okay, can you just, if you're gonna do it now, and then for the rest of this, it's just gonna be us, and then afterwards, you can start taking all the pictures you want again.
Exactly.
I understand wanting to take pictures, so I don't want to be like, oh no, you can't take, because that's bullshit.
Yeah.
But like also, like you said, trying to find a balance. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
See. I'm glad we talked about the location part. I've seen so many stories, Crush, about like this person being kidnapped, this person being harmed, this happening to this person. Why? Because they got their contact via social media, and it's just like,
yeah, that's what's been scaring me. I had seen this TikTok about how an influencer had posted, I think, a picture of the outside of their apartment, something subtle, and they explained like how someone's able to figure it out, like that store, there's only this many in the city, this walkway, the lighting, the time of the day. I was like, from a picture that simple, like
yeah, and I'm just like, I'm so shocked that a lot, like, not as many Gen Z know about that. And that's it for tonight's episode. If you enjoyed this episode or you're enjoying the podcast, go ahead and give us a rating and leave us a review. You can also find me, Zahra,
and me, Presh, on Instagram at Talks with Say. Thank you, girly, for spending an evening with us, and more importantly, thank you for existing.
Until next time, Self Above House.
Bye, guys.